I walked into my wife one day and I just said to her, like, I'm going to bike every single one of these Munros. And that was it. The idea was born.
What'd she say?
Let me know when you're done.
This is the Adventure Sports Podcast, where we talk to athletes, adventurers, and business owners from around the world of adventure sports. Whether you're climbing Mount Everest, starting a bike shop, or getting up off your couch to take your kids hiking for the first time, we want you to have the motivation and inspiration you need to chase that next adventure. The Adventure Sports Podcast is brought to you by Camp Crate, the leaders in fully planned self-guided backpacking adventures, as well as backpacking gear rental. You can check them out at campcrate.net. Happy Friday, everybody. Today we have Life Outside the Box episodes. Those are every Friday. By the way, we feature somebody who's living life a little bit differently than most of us. And they give us tips and give us insight on how to do it ourselves, if that's what we want. So today's episode features Sean Green. He lives in Scotland. He works construction, has some kids, and is married. You know, by all means, is totally normal life, but he's got this crazy project on the side. He's climbing 282 mountains in Scotland called the Munros, and he is biking. He's climbing up all of them, carrying the bike, biking if he can, and then just bombing down the trail on the other side and biking down them all on his mountain bike. And it is, he gets some incredible footage, just stunning pictures, and it's something he squeezes in on his weekends and on his days off. He drives his increasingly known black pickup truck that has like shark teeth painted on the side, like one of those World War II planes. And it's just a cool setup, cool truck, awesome bike. Sean is really cool himself. And, you know, he's just a dad wanting to do something cool with his time. And he'll be the second person to have ever done this once he completes it. And he's getting close to halfway. And I apologize. I didn't know much about his trip before we did the interview. You know, we try to do as much research on every person we can before each interview, but sometimes we just, you know, between working other jobs and the amount of interviews we get, you know, I don't always get the details right, so I apologize for that up front. But Sean's story is one of, you know, if you've got an idea out there, he's going to share a lot of insight and a lot of inspiration for why he got out there and why he continues to do what he's doing, even when it gets tough. And, you know, you go and plan to do a big, you know, loop of some mountains and the weather turns on you. So you've driven 4 hours from home for nothing. You know, it can get discouraging, but Sean's going to share some insight on when you just get started with something, you have no idea the amount of people that might get involved or who gets involved or why. And so if you haven't done an adventure or a big goal like this that most people would see as pretty challenging, one of the unforeseen benefits and plus sides, and probably one of my most exciting aspects of doing adventure, is the people that get involved. It's the following and the story that develops around a goal, whether that's biking across country or, you know, hiking a through hike or anything. And in this case, something that's totally unique, something that only one other person has ever done. And it's so much fun to see who gets in touch with you and who says, wow, this has helped me get out there. And this is, it's like almost a culture forms around the experience. And it becomes an incredibly beneficial aspect of adventure, and it's a lot of fun. It's really motivating, and it's very inspiring for the person doing the adventure to keep going. And yeah, if you at all connect with Sean, you want to help him out, there's all his links are in the show notes, and we want to make sure he is able to complete this, because it would be just absolutely awesome if he was able to get through the rest of this. He's got about 60% of the mountains left, but the 35-40% he's done so far. He's done more since we did the interview. man, what an adventure it's been so far, and I can't imagine it's going to be another. He's done a third of it. He's got another 2/3 to go. How cool! How many? Just how many more experiences? How many more people you're going to come across? How many more beautiful landscapes and scenery and experiences that you just wouldn't trade for millions of dollars that he's going to see is pretty fantastic. Also, if you want to plan something yourself, if you got something going on in 2019, please apply to our adventure grant. We are giving away $1,000 to somebody planning an adventure. The link's in the show notes. It's funded by Athletic Brewing. They are one of our sponsors, and they make non-alcoholic craft beer. Really good stuff. I enjoy it because I have a little bit of an allergic reaction to certain types of beers, and I've never had that reaction to any of this NA, and it helps me not get terribly sick from just a beer or two if my body's never had it before. So great stuff, and we are incredibly appreciative of them funding the first ever adventure sports podcast, Adventure Grant. The show is also brought to us by Aftershocks. They are headphones that don't go into your ears. They rest up against your head to keep your ears free. Incredibly safe way to make sure you can still listen to this show and not have to worry about not hearing a car behind you or someone coming up on you on the sidewalk or something. Very safe way to still do your sport and still listen to something entertaining while you do. All right, let's get into this thing. Your name is Sean Green, and you are biking up all of the Munros in Scotland?
Yeah, well, it's more about the biking down them. There's maybe only about 4 or 5 of them that you could actually ride to the top, and I've done that where I can, but I tend to try and save my energy for the descent. Yeah.
Wow. So you carry the bike to the top and then ride down?
Yeah. That's pretty much how it goes. Yeah.
Wow. And so are you taking the main trails down, or are you trying to kind of do your own trail?
Well, the beauty of it is, I'll spend a lot of the time studying OS maps, and also other people's walk reports, because these aren't, manufactured trails for bikes. There's a lot of it that isn't rideable. So by studying the maps, I could sort of find the best gradients and other possible routes, and also when I'm up there, as long as my navigation's on point, it's just sort of, I'm free to explore. I could play in different sections and just sort of find the best way down. The most fun I can have while I'm up there.
Holy cow! So I pronounce it Munro. How do you pronounce it?
Yeah. Munro. Named after Sir Hugh Munro. He sort of listed them all and put the Munro table together. Yeah, there's 282.
Gosh, and how many have you done?
I've done 104 so far.
Wow, and how long has that taken you?
Well, like I say, it's been sort of on and off. This isn't a full-time thing for me, so I've juggled it between, since I started this. I work in the construction industry, and I'm self-employed, so a lot of my work's from pillar to post. So I've had maybe 10 or 12 jobs in the time that I've started doing this, all over the country. My truck's been off the road for maybe 4 or 5 months of that time. I've had a kid, we've had other family commitments, so probably a little over 2 years. But in actual solid days of riding, I've maybe done 60, 65 days of riding. So
yeah, man. So when you go out, do you already know what you're going to do? Like, you have a set, maybe 4 or 5 you try to do, or is it just one at a time?
Well, that's it. The beauty of them is some of them you can do. Was it the most I think you could do in a day? I think is 12, or maybe it's 11, and that's in Skye. But it's that's the Coolin Ridge Traverse is. It's the most difficult set of mountains in the UK, and it's sort of known all over the world. And I'll be doing that over the course of 5 days. But the most I've done in a day is 7. I've done a few 7s, where you can link them together. There's some pretty low Belix, but if you're lucky, you could only drop down 200 or 300 meters before you start climbing again, and then you're on towards the next summit. And then there's other ones that are 15 miles from any sort of civilization, even the nearest road, and they're just simple out and backs. So it's a pretty even split. For the most part, you could probably get say 2 would be your general. For 80% of your days out, you could probably bag 2 Munros at a time.
Do you have all your future trips planned out, or you just kind of somewhat?
Yeah, I sort of plan it week on week. I have with the bigger days out, I have obviously a bit of a plan in place. Me and the photographer I work with, Andy Cole, that I think reached out to you. Obviously, we planned some big trips together, like we're doing the Coolin Ridge this summer over 5 days. So that's in the books, and we'll sort of plan one for each season where me and Andy will work together. So we'll try to make that a pretty special one. If it's a more remote or just majestic looking Munro, we'll plan them together. But week on week, I'll keep an eye on the weather, but I'll also try and vary my edits and blogs. So I don't want 2 weeks, to be riding pretty much in the same glen, because there's not much, variation for my followers.
I see.
Sorry, but between the weather and mixing things up a little bit as well, another issue that I often face is just the logistics. When I started doing it, I was doing sort of everything as close to my house as I could, and as the project went on, I sort of came to the realization that this would be a nightmare logistically if I keep doing this, where the rest of the Munros that I need to do for the last 180 are all going to be over a 4-hour drive in each direction. So now I try and make it a bit more sporadic, so that I don't need to, some weeks I could be back at home sort of late afternoon, and then the next week, it's a whole weekend required just to grab one Munro. So it's just got to keep mixing it up and slight planning ahead. Yeah.
That's a really cool idea. How'd you get the idea to do it in the first place?
To be honest, I was doing a lot of trail building at the time at one of my local spots, and a lot of the riding in this country, especially the man-made stuff, is in like forests and woodlands, just so the trails are protected by from the rain and stuff and the wind. We don't have that many places where we're able to ride out in on open mountains, and I crave that. I crave big descents, long descents, going fast, and just getting a bit loose. And there was one day I was trail building, and I looked up to the other side of the glen, and that's where sort of the bigger mountains start to appear. And I just thought, what, I'm going to head out there, and I did. I had a great day, and I'd happened to decide to take in 2 Munros at the time, and off the back of that, I had like a 20-minute descent, and I was smiling from ear to ear. So I went home with that fresh in my mind. I started looking up some more like easy to do ones, and they were quite close. I went and done them, and I thought, I'm on an untapped source here. Why is nobody else doing this? And I bought a Munro map to see sort of, again, logistically where everything was. And I walked into my wife one day, and I just said to her, I'm going to bike every single one of these Munros. And that was it. The idea was born.
What'd she say?
Let me know when you're done.
So she supported it.
Yeah. She supports me 100%. I'm really, really fortunate. Obviously this project brings its own troubles. With general family stuff. If I've got a big weekend planned, and there's maybe an occasion or event or something on, or if we're just missing each other, or the kids are missing me, all has its own issues, but she's been amazing. She works her work around it wherever she can. She gives me a bit of free rein at times, and obviously I'm away having the time of my life, summiting these mountains, and having the best descents of my life. And sometimes she's just had a really tough week at work, and then she has to have a really tough weekend at home without me. So she's an absolute saint.
Sounds like life, man.
Yeah.
And I love hearing from people that don't have like a trust fund or $1 million to just do whatever they want. They're making it happen with normal life. That's my dad was a worker. He worked construction. He painted, and we still had adventures every other weekend or so. We'd do something fun, and I don't know. We weren't privileged at all with it, so I appreciate that.
Yeah. It's just living life. You just got to make the most of what you can.
Never been to Scotland. Never seen the Munros. I'm looking through your Instagram, man. It's just gorgeous. It looks awesome. And are they busy, or are you out there alone on the bike?
Some Munros, it could be some of the easier to reach ones, that are within an hour and a half of, say, Glasgow, Scotland's biggest city. There's one there, Ben Lomond. I say it's within like an hour and a half's drive from Glasgow, and at the summit of there, on a fine day, it could be like walking into Starbucks, and that just doesn't do anything for me at all.
Jeez, yeah.
It sort of takes mountains are my escape. Like if daily life's getting me down, or something's playing on my mind, like I just want to elope into the mountains. It's just my happy place, and where all my problems fade away. So I like to be out in the remote, out in the wild. And what I've found as I get further through this project, that once you get into certain numbers, like say over 100, like I am, or even like over 50 or 60, you start to find more remote and less visited Munros, and they're real hidden gems. It's just it's a wonderful thing. It really is, and it's all on my doorstep. So
wow. So as you get close to halfway, what has the experience been like for you versus what you thought it was going to be when you first started out?
So far, to be honest, it's taken like, when I very, very, very first had the idea, I'd sort of planned to have finished it by now, or at least be nearing the end. But it's just sort of everything's worked out in a way that, like it's meant to have happened. I've picked up some amazing sponsors for the project, and like they're supporting me with kit, and it really, really makes like the best of the situation. And the longer it goes on, although I had a timeline in my head, it works out better for everybody. I'm still able to build a sort of name and future for myself in the mountain bike industry through doing this, and my sponsors are getting more and more exposure. And obviously the further it goes on, the more my name gets about, and the more publications get involved. And I've got my second magazine feature is coming out this month. And if I'd finished all this by now, none of this would be happening. I wouldn't have been, maybe I wouldn't have been speaking to you, and it's all just sort of come into fruition in the way I feel like it should have.
Man, it might be a blessing that it takes longer, like you said, because people get to grow the community. Because yeah, you're right. If you did it all at once, it'd be hard to build it up as you go. Because man, it seems like you just keep growing. You got like a brand now almost. Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm hoping to do off the back of it. And when people see that I'll do this, and I'll only be the second person in the world to have ever done this, only after a man named Paul Tattersall, who done it in the late 80s, early 90s,
But he was mainly using his bike for access and egress. But he still is the only man in the world who's taken his bike to the summit of every one of these mountains. But the advantage I have over him is that, my bike's far more capable than what his was. And with that, humans advance as well, and my riding ability, will be greater than what his was. I've also got the privilege of the internet, where I can write blogs about it, and I create and edit for sort of each of my days out, so people can live vicariously through me. These are all little things that he didn't have the privilege of. So I just feel blessed with it.
I know there's a lot of people can say there's a lot about social media I hate, but I will say when I'm down or I don't know, if I'm bored or something and I just need to pick me up, man, I'll scroll through all my old pictures on Instagram from all my past trips, and it's like I'm instantly gratified again of all the things I've accomplished,
Yeah, totally.
You got hours of videos of descents and pictures, and you'll just be able to scroll through all that and say, man, look at all this. Look at all that I did. This is crazy. On the weekends between working construction jobs.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, and off the back of it as well, and it's probably a long way off yet, and there'll be other things that get in the way and other projects, but I'd like to write a book of my experience. That's a big goal that I've had, and I just feel like, well, it'll be a diary. My project is Grizzly Munro Diaries, and I suppose that'll be the full diary in print. So I feel like the project's just got so much more to give.
Athletic Brewing is pioneering non-alcoholic craft beer. Yeah, I said non-alcoholic craft beer. And there's a number of reasons you might want to do that. Whether you're training for an event, which a lot of our listeners are, or, if you're babysitting and don't want to be drunk in case something happens. I mean, stuff happens, but you still want to sit down and enjoy the game and have a beer. This is an incredible option for a full-flavored, full-bodied beer. Each can is only 50 to 70 calories. With IPA, golden ales, stouts, and tons of seasonal offerings, Athletic Brewing is a great option if you want that craft brewery taste, but not deal with the effects of alcohol itself. If you'd like to save 15% on your first order, go to athleticbrewing.com and use the code ADVENTURE at checkout. Absolutely. And you know what? You have that foundation now to when you publish something like that, you'll be able to push it to all these outlets and connections and sponsors you've made. So what's some of the interesting stories that have happened out there? Anything just super memorable?
Yeah. There's been some crazy memories. One of my favorites, and it's probably been my favorite day to date. It was the first time I'd met Andy. Again, thanks to social media, I believe I've now made a friend for life through Andy, the photographer. We met through social media, and we arranged that we'd do a trip together. And he met me in Glencoe for a weekend, and we had maybe 6 or 7 Munros planned out. And on the Friday night, we got there pretty early, and it was a super hot day. And we decided, we'll try and get a couple of Munros tonight. So we set off, and Andy wasn't exactly mountain fit at the time. I think he'd been doing a lot of local riding, but nothing of this magnitude. And so I'd ended up leaving him a wee bit further down, and I said, look, Andy, I'm going to push on for the summit before sunset. And I reached the summit of Binny Moor in the Mamors, which is sort of just lies between Glencoe and Fort William. And I just watched the sunset over Ben Nevis at 10:30 at night in complete silence. The most beautiful sunset I've ever seen. I could see for miles. I could probably see 50, 60 miles in every direction. It was simply stunning. Wow. And off the back of that, the sun went down, and I thought, well, I'm going to have to get down this mountain now. And it was one of those days. I had the best ride of my life. Everything fell into place. I hit every turn as I want to. I got every pedal stroke in. Everything just felt great. I got down to the bottom that day and I felt nothing but euphoria. It was jaw dropping. And there's been a couple like that, and I take great pleasure in my own company, and I feel like that's an important trait to have, especially in this project. That I don't need to share these moments with people to appreciate how good they are. I could just be sitting in my living room one night and it'll just come back to my head and I'll just sit there smiling and my wife will be like, what are you thinking about? Oh, it's just that one night last summer, and it's just, there's so many good stories that have come off like that. It's just it's just a crazy project and a crazy experience.
That's awesome. It doesn't have to be, I don't know, it's like you have to be there, because I talked to this guy earlier today. He's been walking around the world for 5 years, and he said his favorite memory was being in the desert. He would lay his tarp out and just lay on the tarp in the sand and look at the stars. And I said, in 5 years, that was your best memory, huh? And he said, you just had to be there, man. It's hard to describe how everything just came together in that moment to be probably as close to perfect as it gets. And that sounds like it's what it's been for you too.
And I believe that, perfect, it's a funny old word, but I feel like it's all about, perfect's a very personal thing. Not everything has to line up in everybody's sort of perfect way, but for you, in that moment, in that place, just that solitude, and it was just, there's no other way to describe it than perfect. Like, I wouldn't have changed a thing.
Wow, man, that is so awesome. And now you're still doing these through the winter too, right?
Yeah. Last year I struggled to do as many through the winter. We had a crazy 4 months of snow, or at least it felt that way. Not so much, across the mainland and down at the lower reaches, at sea level, but, the mountains stayed with, well over a metre of snow for the most part, which if it's fresh dustings that, that keep coming along and make it pretty hard to bike through. Powder is hard work. Even with my ice spike tires, they struggle with powder. If I get a good freeze, I can make light work of snow. But like Andy and I done a recent trip there, was it maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago? We'd previously done the height of summer, we'd done an autumn trip, and then we're like, right, okay, well, we've got those shots, we've got the sun, we've got the rain, let's get the snow involved. And to have Andy there with me and to capture what I can see, watching the sunset over snowy mountains, because snow just adds a whole other element, even just visually, not even when it comes to riding, it just makes, obviously, these Munros, compared to other mountain ranges in the world, are, they're just babies. But when they're snow-capped, they bring on this whole other demeanor. They look so much more menacing and, and quite scary at times, and it adds to the grandeur of things. So, yeah, we brought Andy along, and it was actually the day just kind of things just kept going wrong, but it was always, again, like it was meant to be. I borrowed a drone from one of my friends, and we had this idea of getting involved in my truck a lot more, so we had it driving up towards the mountain. I had these images ingrained in my head that I needed to capture, and straight off the bat, 7 a.m, the temperatures wouldn't allow the GoPro, the drone to record. I managed to get it flying okay, and then the flight time was cut short by the cold, so I was like, right, okay, let's forget the drone. We'll set off, and then something else went wrong. My GoPro froze. The cold just totally killed the battery. It was minus 16 centigrade with the wind chill. So everything, we had icicles hanging off my beard, and the GoPro was dead. But because of that, and the fact that I wasn't under any pressure to get any footage, usually I'd be rushing Andy on, saying, look, I need to get down, because as the light fades, the stabilization on the GoPro sort of fails, and you get a really grainy picture, and it just doesn't pick things up well. But because of this chain of events, we'd ended up just saying, well, let's hang about at the summit for sunset, and that's exactly what we done, and it was stunning, and we got just some incredible pictures that just painted like a much stronger picture than any video could have done. So, it's just like the Lord works in mysterious ways sometimes.
How was the ride down after that?
It was difficult because it was sort of between 2 and 3 foot of powder, and a lot of the hill wasn't like sort of steep enough gradient to get any momentum going. But like anything, I rode what I could, and when I managed to get a decent gradient, I was having the time of my life. I imagined I was bored, and I was just cutting turns up wherever I could, and I was just carving my own way down the mountain.
What an awesome adventure, because it's so, and it's honestly, it's cool to tackle something all at once like this, but you're getting to see it all, at different times of the year, and you get to plan these little micro adventures around each kind of cluster of them, and eventually, maybe not eventually, but every once in a while involve other people, get all this good footage, and also live a totally normal life on the side. Like it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. When you put it like that, it's it is pretty awesome.
Man, a lot of people get to just look forward to something like that every other week. And how often do you try to get out?
Basically every opportunity that I can. Like I said, me and my wife sort of are into a rota, where we'll do sort of 2 weeks on and 2 weeks off, just so I can spend time with the family, and so that she can work some weekends. And so at the bare minimum, I'll get out twice a month. But if there's any sort of holidays or anything fall, like over Christmas there, I had a couple of weeks off work, and my wife had made it, she'd rearranged her things at work so that there was 1 week that I could get out 4 times, and just to have that, like it gave me that sense of like I felt like this was my full-time job, and that was just it was a crazy feeling, and it sort of opened my eyes to maybe what's possible in the future.
And what would that be? What are you looking at in the future?
I want to make adventure mountain biking, my life. I'd love to give up my day job and, go out on these, micro adventures, as you say, for 2, 3, 4 days at a time, throw together an edit, loads of photos, write, photo stories and blogs, release that, sort of have a week off, do the next one. I want to come across the States. So I want to go to Canada. I want to go to the Himalayas. Me and Andy are speaking about Scandinavia. I've got so many little cogs turning in my head about what's possible off the back of this. It's just kind of hard to contain my excitement.
Yeah, man. How close are you to making that stuff a reality?
At the moment, Andy and I's plan is to sort of create a media production company. Through my contacts at the moment, we've got a foot in the door with some companies that we could work with. We're promoting their gear throughout the world, and we're speaking about our next, our at least our first international being towards sort of Norway is what we're looking at. But again, I've got commitments to my sponsors that, I don't want to get sidetracked really in any way and putting too much time and effort into something else until I can give them what I promised them. So at the moment, my mind is that I'm going to stay UK based and get this project out of the way, and then see if we could, get a proper plan in place for sort of venturing throughout the world.
If you're just out there doing something, that's just better than not being out there doing something, So as long as you keep going and finish this project, there's no telling what's gonna come up ahead. And so, man, does this project feel long at times? Like, holy cow, I've got so many left to do.
Yeah. I mean, there's been so many times to do that, and even now, like I think I've worked out, and I've only done 36% of all the Munros, and there's been some tough days, and there's been some really, really long days. There's been times where I've gone away for the entire weekend with a plan to take in 9 Munros, and the weather is just it's turned on me, and I came home with 4. And there's times like that where obviously I get really bad where I'll build things up in my head, and when that plan gets taken away from me, even in everyday life, it has this really profound effect on me. I kind of get a wee bit huffy. If I have a plan and that plan falls by the wayside for whatever reason, I don't take it great. So in days like that, I find it a hard pill to swallow, and then I feel guilty about myself, within myself, and then I feel bad that I've not got the content to put out for my followers and for sponsors, and it's all just I think there's a lot more involved in this project than I allow myself to appreciate. But my wife certainly understands how much is involved. And
what do you feel guilty about?
Just I think I have a lot of time frames and stuff that I try and keep in my head, and I try and keep to, and then when I can't meet them, I feel like I sort of let myself down in a way and let the side down. But it's all just it's just personal stuff, and just this timeline that's in my head, and it's not like there's any pressure from anywhere else, but any pressure in my life I sort of bring on myself. I think it's just within my personality, my own worst enemy at times.
This episode is sponsored by Aftershocks. They are headphones with bone-conducting technology. So they rest in front of your ears, not inside your ears like most headphones. And the benefit is they keep your ears free. I would have felt so much safer on my bike trips if I would have had these. But, I'm on the bike for 12 hours. I'm not going to not listen to something. So I did put myself at risk a lot. And I would highly recommend something that allows you to keep your ears free and be able to listen to this show, or music if you choose that. But come on, you want to listen to this show. They have a 6-hour battery life, awesome audio quality, and you can get $50 off the Trex Air Adventure Bundle or the Trex Titanium Adventure Bundle at asp.aftershocks.com. And that is also in the show notes. And that is spelled AFTERSHOKZ. It's probably the same skills that led you to do this project and get as far as you have in the first place. Probably turn against you sometimes and make you feel guilty and make you feel pressure that's not there. And man, I'd have never guessed looking at your page like that you're behind schedule or anything. To me, it's completely badass by itself,
Yeah. Well, you're not the first one to say that. There's the amount of people, I'd say 90% of my followers still think that, this is my full-time job, and so I must be doing something right. So
that tells me that's another confirmation how powerful and deceptive social media can be. Because, it looks like it. Looks like all you do is camp next to your truck that's with them shark teeth on it. That is too funny, man. So what you mentioned a few places earlier. What are some of those dream destinations? Is it the Himalayas, Canada, and all that?
Yeah. I'd like to. Well, it's hard to pinpoint exactly what I'd like to do, because there's I can't think of anywhere else in the world where you can ride an entire mountain range. So I'm very, very lucky that opportunity is in this country. But in sort of micro adventures, there's things I'd like to do. I'd love to do just smaller things like Everest Base Camp, and there's so many routes in Nepal and stuff. And I'd like to go to Morocco. I'd like to go to there's places in the Middle East that are so barely explored. There's probably 100 places in every continent that I'd love to explore. So
I tell people it's frustrating, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. It's just, and then it's trying to pinpoint where you want to go first. Like I'm just like a kid in the candy shop.
That's what I tell people out here. We live in Colorado, and there's so much to do. You don't have time, and you don't have the money to do it
Yeah,
all, and
yeah, that's it.
you don't even have the body that can handle it all. It's just, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like, well, what the hell is all this out here for if I can't do it all? But you just kind of gotta be happy with what you get, I guess, because it's endless, which is
yeah,
great in a way.
yeah.
It's endless. Well, hopefully this project isn't endless for you, and you get to the end one day.
Oh, you mark my words. I,
Man, so is that what your sponsors, you committed to your sponsors that you do it all?
yeah, yeah, absolutely, and far beyond any of my sponsors or any of my followers. This project is entirely for me. Like I would be, the other reason this all started is, when I was younger, we would always, the family would go away camping and it would be hill walking. And, even at 4 or 5 years old, I'd be walking down the hills and I'd imagine that I was on my bike. I'd be holding these pretend handlebars and riding my way down. And as I got older, I was still doing the same thing. And, I'd say to myself, like, oh, I wish I had my bike, even if it was for 50 meters, 100 meters of riding. You know, like to me, that just seemed worth it. So, when I decided that I was going to do it, I didn't have any following. I didn't even set up a page. This was just, I posted it on my personal social media, and it was actually, a guy I know, and he was like, Sean, I think people could really get into this. Like, make something of it. He actually pointed me into the sponsors. He's like, why don't you reach out to a company and see if they'd be interested? And, a couple of them just lapped it up. They were just, and I wasn't expecting it at all. And it all just sort of, one thing led to another, and it was all a bit of a whirlwind, because I was doing this anyway, but now I've got some of the best brands in the world, wanting to be a part of it. It's just a really humbling experience.
That's fantastic. So sponsorship has helped you a lot with gear and stuff and making it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I was fairly abusing my bike. I was, breaking a lot of parts and going through a lot. And when it started off, like I just reached out to a couple of companies about, helping out with the bike I had, and they were like, "Oh no, yeah, I want to do that, but let's see if we can get you a full bike first of all." So that was the first seed that was planted in my head, and here I am with a stunning bike, well beyond my means and well beyond what's financially possible for me in my current situation. I'm kitted out with the best gear money can buy. Making me safe, keeping me warm, keeping me dry. And just. I've got some like little lifestyle sponsors, on board now that just generally make my life a bit easier. Even just like I've got a company on board that supplied me with a little portable power washer, and even just a little thing like that. It really makes a big difference to my day. And
Yeah.
The support it's been phenomenal. It really has been great.
Just happy to hear that. But it sounded like you got started first.
Yeah.
And then all the activity started to follow, as far as the following and the sponsorships and stuff. But you started the journey without any of that in mind.
Yeah. Oh, that was never on the cards. This being what it is now was, it hadn't even entered my mind. I just said to myself, I want to bike all these mountains, and I started doing it, and then companies came on board, and now I've got a few thousand followers, and maybe about 4,000 followers combined across my social medias. And to me, that's insane. Because I'm generally quite a private person, and I keep my private life private, and to have complete strangers spotting like my truck out in the wild, and posting images of it online saying, "Oh, I've seen Grizzly's truck," and bumping into them in the hills, and and then people speaking to me on social media telling me I'm an inspiration. Like that's insane. Like that my actions are inspiring people to want to get outside and be active and see these sights for themselves. There's so much more to life than looking at it through a phone screen. And what I'm doing is making people want to go out there and see it for themselves, and that's just that's something that money can't buy.
You're right. That's priceless, and that's what it's all about, man. If you can get out there, if you being out there and posting pictures of it makes other people want to get that same feeling that you have out there, man, how can you ask for anything better in life,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and your truck is really hard to miss.
Yeah. It gets more attention than I do.
It's an awesome truck, man. I love it. It looks like a perfect companion for this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a bit of a money pit. It's always breaking on me. There's always. I've got I'm sitting in the garage at the moment, and I've got a small mountain of replacement parts ready to go on it. But it's just that age-old thing of loads of money and no time, or loads of time and no money. So just got to do it when I can do it.
Looks like you need a truck sponsor.
Well, that's I'm working away at it. I'm trying my best to get some help with this. There's some companies across in your neck of the woods that I've spoken with, and then opportunities come and go, and then there's radio silence, and it's the one thing about sponsorship is you never really quite know where you are. Some companies could be so into the idea, and then they could vanish off the space of the earth.
I wish you the best of luck as you continue and knock this journey out. And you've had so much fun in the first 30-something%, man. You're going to have, well, statistically speaking, about 3 times as much fun.
Yeah, about 64%. A lot of fun left. So, yeah, it's good.
Oh, man. Well, congratulations. Thanks for staying up late and being on the show, and just continue. I hope you inspire your kids too. You know what I mean? I hope they grow up and do something just as cool as what you're doing.
Yeah, me too. So, thank you for the opportunity. Again, even things like this, speaking to somebody across the pond about my project is it's hugely humbling. So
crazy, ain't it? Well, actually, where can people follow you? I want to ask you that before we get off.
My Instagram and Facebook are my 2 biggest outputs. The Instagram is grizzly_Munro_diaries. And again, the same for the Facebook, just search for Grizzly Munro Diaries. I've also got a YouTube, but I currently do my whole project through my phone. I don't actually have any computer access. So once I capture all the footage on my GoPro, I do all the editing through my phone. I write the 3,000 and 4,000 word blogs through my phone.
Oh man, that's a lot of thumbs.
Yeah, I post everything online through my phone. So I've got YouTube, but it sometimes falls behind. But again, that's just Grizzly Munro Diaries. And if people want to help support the stream and really make a difference, I've got a Patreon account as well. A sort of subscription service to financially aid me in any way they can, with different tiers of help from $1 to $5 a month, and that really, really does go a long way. Even helping cover fuel, which is I'm about £400 a month just in the project, which is the equivalent of a 1-bedroom flat across here. So it's pretty expensive. So
yeah, absolutely. No, I get it, man. Every bit helps. People don't realize just how much $1 or $2 can help when everyone chips in.
It's crazy. It really is crazy how far it goes. So yeah.
Congratulations on getting so far, and we wish you the best of luck, and we'll be following you, and we're going to do an interview once you finish too. All right?
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, absolutely.
I'll be looking forward to it and hearing about all that fun you're about to have.
Yeah, me too, Mason. Thank you.
Sean, thank you so much, man, for staying up late, and best of luck. Keep up the
Yeah,
good
man.
work.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right, see ya.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye. First of all, thank you so much for listening to the episode. Secondly, if you would like to get in touch, you can leave us a voicemail at 812-MAIL-POD. You can also send us an email, info@adventuresportspodcast.com. Get a hold of us on Facebook, Instagram. Contact us on the website. There's just 1,000 ways to do it. If you know somebody that would make a good guest for the show, whether it's you or somebody you know with a really cool story or background or does an interesting sport, get in touch. We'd love to have them on. Also, if you'd like to be a patron, aka a supporter of the show, patreon.com/Adventure Sports Podcast. You can sign up for as little as $1 a month. You can sign up for $5 a month. And lastly, thank you to our sponsors whose messages follow right now. Go to athleticbrewing.com and use the code ADVENTURE at checkout to save 15% off the best tasting and lowest calorie non-alcoholic beer you're ever going to try. Don't forget to save $50 off a headset bundle at asp.aftershocks.com. It's my new favorite way to listen to music and podcasts and stay safe while I run and ride my bike. After all this adventure talk, if you need to go to a place and buy some gear and talk to an expert, go to backpacktribe.com. They can help you choose the right gear, and they have the expertise and know-how with each piece of equipment. Now get out there and do something crazy.